Sorry I took so long to get back to you. So hi Chi, how you doing?
I'm fine, Margaret, Mom.
Evening.
I want to remind Mr. Shea to join.
I've already done that. I called him a few minutes
Oh,
ago. He said he'll join soon.
okay.
Yeah. So maybe you could just remind people to join. So I'm trying to set up here. I've told him we need to test if he can share screen and everybody see his slides. So that's what I'm trying to do now.
Oh, okay, Mom. Can I just type, or do you think I should forward the BT again, or should I just type to tell people to start to get ready to join by 5?
You mean Mr. Shea?
No, on the group chat. You said I should remind the people to join, Abby.
Yeah, on the group chat, you could just send the pictures and chat that it's almost 5 o'clock. They should remember to be here.
Okay, I sent the pictures, or the picture already. That was by 4.
Yeah, I
So
saw it.
I
Well
think I'll
done. Okay,
instead of
cool.
sending. Okay.
Okay, so since you're here, I'm going to send you on the chat room the background. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mike, I can hear you.
Yeah, so the background you'll be using going forward. So I'm just going to attach it and send to you now. And I'll send it via, you know how to add your, what's it called? All right, it's 5:03 by my time. I think we'll probably will start now. 1 minute. We'd like to see if we can share on Facebook so that other people can still join us. Please, if you're not speaking, could you? Okay, it's Shei's phone. All right, let's see if we can share on Facebook. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another ISEC Alumni Talks. It promises to be a time well spent, because we're going to be talking about something that concerns all of us, every one of us, and that is the security and safety of life and citizenry our collective responsibility. As you all know, ISEC Alumni strives to showcase our strengths and putting our best foot forward. We do our best to network among ourselves to harness the collective advantage of being a member of ISEC alumni. And then we also try to make sure we build bridges B2B, business to business, and see how we can, make the ecosystem profitable, encouraging, motivating for being a member. So to that effect, the Alumni Talks brings together subject matter experts, people who are at the top of the career in their fields, people who know about the subject we're talking about, and who are alumni members. These members are the ones we join. People nominate them sometimes, and sometimes, they are called upon to speak to us. Today, it's a very important topic. The topic is the security and safety of lives and citizenry, our collective responsibility. And it's none other than Seyi Alaba. Seyi Alaba is a subject matter expert, having been in the field for over 20 years in the security and allied matters, and he's also an ISEC alumni. So I wouldn't want to take the stage. I'd like Seyi to introduce himself, his LC, and take us straight to the talks. Please keep your questions towards the questions and answer time. And then if you do have comments as well, please put them in the chat box. And as usual, the slides for this training, this session will be shared after the session. So Seyi, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bubi. And I want to say a good evening to everyone, all the ISEC alumni here present this evening. I hope the quality of the audio and video will be good enough. But if not, please, let's just manage it that way. And I'm going to stress Bubi a bit for sharing my slide because of the challenges I'm having here. So please, let's accommodate all those shortcomings from my side. Thank you very much once again. And I want to say that it's a real privilege for me to be here this evening. And I want to appreciate the coordinator of the Alumni Talks for giving me this opportunity to come and talk with my fellow ISECers. Well, there is nothing I want to say today that I believe it to be totally new because every one of us will reside in this country and we listen to news. We know what is happening on a daily basis. But I will be sharing from my perspective. And well, I want to believe that at the end of this talk, we have one or two things to learn from each other. As the topic implies, the safety and security of Nigerian citizenry. And we said that previously, we don't see it as a collective effort or something that we also have a role to play. But the reality is telling us every day now that we need to play our own role. As I was introduced, my name is Seyi Alaba. I manage and run the private security outfit. We are in about 4 or 5 states in Nigeria for now. And I will be looking at this thing from the private sector. And of course, we cut across all the security agencies because we work together with them. Like I said, the topic, very interesting topic. On my slide, I have some pictures. I'm sure some of us will be wondering that what are those pictures doing there? I just want us to have a kind of a preview of what we are discussing today. The picture I have, you can see the picture of our president. Though many of us did not like him, but he's still our president. Then, if you check other pictures that's there, you see the service chiefs. Many of us know them, not face to face, but on the TV and on social media, on maybe the print media and all that. Also, we have other service chief, like the IGP, and also we have, I intentionally put those two governors because lately they are one of the governors that is really enjoying they're really enjoying, you know, being a governor of a state. If you look at El-Rufai, Governor El-Rufai, the state has been in news for so long, and a lot of things are happening in that place now that if you're a governor at this time in Kaduna State, you know it's not an easy task to be a governor. Also, if you look at the Governor Autumn, you know that a lot of issues. It's so hard that in a month, on like 2 weeks, that you've not heard about him in the news. And that is the reason because of the challenges, the security situation in the state. So I put it this way, that all these people, we have seen their pictures. I want you to, which one of them do you envy? Which one of them do you like to take their posts? Which one of them do you like to, if possible, they say, okay, I'm resigning today, tomorrow come and take over. Which one of them will you really want to be, wear their shoes, the shoes they are wearing right now? The answer might be yes, and the answer might be no. But if you really know the nitty-gritty of the problem, the challenges they are facing in their states, you may not likely want to be a governor in those states. You may want to come to Lagos or look for a better state that you don't have too much of these challenges to take over such a responsibility. That's the question I asked, that which one of the leaders do we envy most? And which one of their assignment do we like to take over? Which this is an interactive session that we can respond and all of that. Also, after then, I have some groups highlighted. I asked this question first: which one of these groups do we fear most? Can we have the pictures? The next slide. We have, yes, you can see Nigeria Labour Congress, you can see a cattle, if you call it cattle rustler or whatever. So which one of these people do we fear most? Do we fear the people from the Niger Delta? Do we fear the people from the Northeast? Do we fear the people from the North and all of that? Even you can see the people from the Niger Delta. Everybody is doing their thing. Virtually all the regions that we have in Nigeria, you have one thing or the other that they are dealing with. And that brings Nigeria to a place that even international organizations, international body pay attention to Nigeria now. Now, if I want to, let me quickly take you back, let me take us back to look at the global perspective of all this insurgency. I want to say that anybody that is of age will likely not to forget the morning of September 11, 2001. That was when an incident happened, and that incident turns the ball around and gives us a reality. This is the day that changed the life in the US and the entire world. Not in the US alone, also in the entire world. Previously, there has been terrorism, there has been hostage taking, there have been series of attacks and all of that. But the incident that happened September 11, 2001 changed the game. That was after this incident, the President of the United States addressed the media, and he declared that the whole world have to pay attention to terrorism. Because previously they will attack, they will threaten, and before they attack, before they carry out the operation, the intelligence, they will gather the intelligence, and eventually it will happen. But if you remember vividly, what happened September 11, 2001, that put the whole world on their toes. Especially, it's like a dirty slap on America. Then after that incident, the President Bush made a commitment to American and people in the world to fight a war against terrorism. That was when the war against terrorism was declared worldwide. And after that incident, the safety, the security that every one of us enjoyed was taken away from us. Previously, if you recall, maybe some like 3 decades ago, even if you are traveling out of the country, how many of the security checks do you do? If you are traveling within your country, how many of the security checks do you do? But since that incident happens, everything changes. You have to pass through different layers of screening, even at the airport. Even though you are doing a local flight within your country, you have to pass through a lot of security checks. And sometimes even if you want to, you're traveling maybe from Lagos to the east, you have to pass through a lot of security checks to even board the bus. It was as bad as that. And that was what the situation that happened 2011 caused us. Also, you see the public places like the malls, like churches, like mosques, that is a public place. Everybody goes there freely before. But now it has changed. Most churches now, you have to pass through security check before you can go inside. Most mosques, you have to pass through security check. And of course, if you're going to mall, to some other public places, there are several security checks that you have to pass through. Otherwise, you won't be allowed in. So with all what I've said so far, globally, we know that security implies a stable and a relatively predictable environment. For instance, all of us, we are online, we are listening to each other. If where I'm talking from is not stable, if the environment is not conducive, of course, I won't be here. And I'm talking to you right now. God forbid, if you heard a loud sound like a bomb or something, definitely you will leave that place. So now we need to look at what are the conditions and what we need to do as an individual, as the topic implies, to make sure that we play our own role when it comes to security of life and properties. If you look at Nigerian perspective as regards this situation, Nigeria, for one, is the most populous country in Africa. And where approximately, we don't actually know if the statistics is right, but let's say approximately we're about 200 million. And in a situation where we have that huge number of people, then security challenges becomes something that we cannot totally exonerate. So with such large number of people, security challenges are inevitable. We must acknowledge that securing the life and property is not an easy task. And for government and also the law enforcement officer, it is a big work for them. For instance, if you look at the rate at which our population is increasing on a daily basis, it poses a lot of challenges on the security and the number of infrastructures we have in place. And the next slide, you look at, let's look at Lagos, because I know most of us that hook up online with this talk, I'm sure the majority of us are from Lagos. And anytime we're talking about Nigeria, we always make reference to Lagos because of its peculiarity. If you look at Lagos, we don't even need to go by what the statistics tells us. When you go to Lagos, you see the number of people, you see the inflows on a daily basis. You will know that Lagos accommodates a lot of people. And when you look at the kind of challenges individual or the security officers will be facing on a daily basis, you know it won't be an easy task. And there's a projection that by the year 2100, that Lagos will be the most populous city in the whole world. So if it's going to get to that level, then you can imagine what we will be facing in Lagos at that time. But if you also look at the way the government is putting some checks and balances on planning in Lagos, that may probably help Lagos or help us to put some things in place so that we can checkmate insecurity. I remember some years back, I was privileged to be outside the country for a training. And myself and my other colleague, we had to pick a topic. We had to choose a course. It's an elective. And one is on hostage taking and one is on terrorism. Both of us at that event, we did not even go to hostage taking or terrorism. And after a session, we're joking with ourselves. I say that Nigerians, all what we're after is, let's get a job to do, let's feed ourselves, let's maintain our life, and we are fine. That no Nigerian will want to tie bomb around himself to go and kill people. No Nigerian will take a bomb to a market or a public place and kill a lot of people, But the reality is done on us right now. What we thought then that it cannot happen in Nigeria is happening now. So that has put us on our toes to make sure that, to see that life, we need to pay more attention to our safety and our security. There's a question I asked here that is Nigeria a safe country? Well, to you and I, we know if it's a safe country or not. And if we don't want to really pretend or deceive ourselves, we know how bad the situation is. I'm not going to say some things here today because I don't want to scare us. And in as much that I don't want to do that, I will try as much as possible to be open so that we will know what and what is on ground. And maybe during the question and answer, I know some question might be thrown. We'll see, look at it, and we'll see the best way we can address that. Of course, if I'm a Nigerian and somebody invited me for a program in Kaduna and I said I can't go, or somebody called me for a program in the Northeast, I said I cannot go, then how do foreigners relate with those information? Publicly, openly, foreigners are really advised to avoid travel to Nigeria except it's necessary. I could remember a couple of weeks back, I had to do something in Ilorin, but shortly before then, we had an intel that some people ran into some bandits somewhere and something happened. So when we're going, we had to go with about 4 armed policemen just to guide us on our way. Then, not every Nigerian will be able to afford that. What we are going there to do, if it's not important and urgent, probably we may not go. We may forfeit it or we may go to do online stuff and all of that. But this is something that requires our presence, our physical presence and all of that. And we have to stress ourselves. We have to go in about 3 vehicles and get armed personnel to guide us at the back and to go and clear the front for us. About a week ago, I attended a function too at Delta State. We had to get the advanced team to go and check the local government we are going to, and we have to get an escort right from the airport to where we are going, to and fro. You can see all this thing, all these expenses and all this situation is just because of this, where we found ourselves. So foreigners are strictly advised to avoid non-essential travel to Nigeria. And they try to everything they want to do, if it's not required that their physical appearance, they should just try to do whatever they need to do online. And there is no way this will not affect our economic and all of that. Well, I want us to also note this, that in a challenging economy like ours, like the one we have presently now, where people cannot afford 3 meals per day, when we have high level of unemployment, when we have inflation here and there. Dollar was about 300 and something previously. Now it just shot up to about 500 and 500 plus. You know, the cost of living is very high, and up to now, there's no solution from the government. And anytime we have this kind of situation, the end result is always criminal behavior. So it's expected that when the economy goes bad, then we have a lot of criminal activities. I have so many friends that live in the Lekki and Ajah axis. A lot of complaints all the time because maybe some of them are averagely okay, and you have a lot of people that they are living far, far, far below average. So definitely they will be feeling from those ones that are doing fine. So those are the things that we should expect. And as an individual, because government cannot do everything for us, we also have a responsibility to understand the present situation we are in right now and see the best way to address it for us to be safe and secure anywhere we are. Having said that, as a citizen of Nigeria, we have a right. And the government too have responsibility. The part of the responsibility of the government is to make sure that they protect us, to make sure that our environment is relatively safe, stable, you know, that we can go about our daily activities without any disturbance. A proper response from government law enforcement officers is either to make sure that there is orderliness. That is what they should do statutorily. For instance, Nigerian police. In an ideal situation, though the situation we have with them right now, especially after the NSAS demonstration, is really, really bad. But if we don't have a terrible or bad situation, their core responsibility is to make sure that they protect every individual citizen of this country and to make sure that there is orderliness everywhere. But in most cases, reverse is the case. But what can we do as an individual? We will get to that. Nigerian police, they are the one that is closer to every one of us. And they are the one we talk about on a daily basis. But when you look at policing, they are not the one in charge of it. They are not the only one. We have civil defense, we have correctional people, we have road safety, we have immigration, we have customs, we have NDLA, and so many of them. They are there in a way, one way or the other, to provide safety and security for Nigerian citizens. But the question is that, are they doing it? Are they doing it right? Look at immigration. What are they doing presently now? Look at customs. What are they doing presently now? Somebody said something about a couple of weeks back that Nigeria is the only country that gave customs and I think immigration targets, that we must hit these targets maybe before the end of this year or in 2 years or in 3 years, we must hit this target. And it is supposed to be like that. The primary assignment is to safeguard what comes in and what goes out, not to generate income. In the process, you make money, which is fine. But the primary assignment now has been defeated, and government is not saying anything about that. So that is one of the problems we are facing. But as a citizen of Nigeria, we have a responsibility. We have our rights, and the government to have a responsibility to protect us. Security situation in Nigeria. There's a picture I attached to this, but I later removed it because, like I said, I don't want to put something that will scare us. And I also want us to be positive-minded in whatever we're doing, most especially about security. As we speak right now, I try to break this down to different regions. There's no doubt about it that Nigeria faces security challenges on several fronts. First, the hottest place now is the Northeast. I'm sure many of us have not been there in a while. The conflict between the military and the United States, they categorize two terrorist organizations that is attacked to Nigeria now. One of them is Boko Haram, the popular Boko Haram, that all of us know. Previously, they started during the time of Mohammed Yusuf as a local terrorist group, but now it's being recognized internationally. The second one now that everybody is so scared of is the Islamic State affiliated faction. We call them the ISWAP, Islamic State West African Province. Those ones have killed a lot of people that you and I know. They have killed so many people in the past, in the past 10, 15 years. They've displaced a lot of people. So many people cannot go back to their farm. So many people cannot go back to their houses. That has caused a lot of issues, especially when it comes to the people on that axis. Then in Nigeria, in Northwest, we have conflict that their own situation there is a little bit different. They have conflict between the pastoralists and farmers. Some will say that's when you had a lot of stuff that the cattle rearers, I have access into my farm, they destroy my farm, I try to react, they kill me, and then instead of them to be rearing cow with their stick, they are now rearing cow with AK-47. I'm sure you saw the picture we showed you earlier on. So the situation in Northeast is quite different from the situation in the Northwest. In the Northwest, you're likely to see more of pastoralists and farmers having issues. And that has escalated a lot now. And at some point, we're told, and some investigation probably might not be disclosed, shows that there are foreigners that came into the country with their cattle and all those stuffs. And of course, they want to feed them. And they can move, they can travel from one city to another, one place to another. And in the process, they destroy a lot of farms, they destroy a lot of things and all of that. And like we said earlier, there is no checks and balances at our border. It becomes so bad that people come in and go out without anybody checking them. So the security situation in that place involved cattle rustling, kidnapping, ethnic massacres, and of course, the emergence of these Islamic extremist activities. That is so common over there right now. Also, farmer others violence is also coming up and becoming popular. In fact, it is becoming so popular now that it's spreading to this, even to the Southwest. And the Southwest, especially in Oyo State, we've had so many instances that the cattle rearers and the farmers, they had a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of issues. And the farmers complained about them destroying their farm. It resulted into serious violence. They killed themselves. They burned their villages and all of that. And most of the time it coincides with Christians and Muslims, and most times if it's not well managed, it turns to religious issues, turns to ethnic issues, and it becomes a terrible situation to manage. Also, if you look at in the South, the criminality we have in the South, more of militancy. As we all know that the South is the oil-rich, especially the oil-rich and Niger Delta, where we know that a lot of oil companies, rich oil companies are there, doing their job and all of that. And the majority of Nigerians living in that place, if you look at talking of the statistics, you look at how many of them are living on the average, how many of them are living below average and all of that. That also causes a lot of problem. And what we have there is quite different to what we have in the Northeast or in the Northwest. If I travel to the Niger Delta area now, and I have armed personnel or armed police to guide me and to, go with me. I'm not going there because cattle rustler is going to kidnap me. I'm not going there. I'm not doing that because Muslim and Christian are fighting. No, but I'm doing that because they might see that, oh, this guy is looking good. He might be working for one big oil company. If we try to kidnap him, we could get some, money paid for his ransom. So that might be the reason why. So we have different zones having different issues. Yet, if you look at all these things that we have highlighted, the corruption is on the high side in Nigeria, which is also a factor that we must, consider and look into seriously. And when we talk of our infrastructures as well, it's a serious problem because we have serious level of infrastructure gaps, insecurity, and failure to diversify from the economy. So when you, especially, I was discussing with one of the service chiefs recently. There was an operation that we joined them to do an operation together, and it was successful. And what made that operation to be successful was a private initiative from a private sector. Some people put some infrastructure in place, and those are the things we leverage on. At the end of the day, it helped us to achieve results at the end of the day, which of course, they won't celebrate us. We don't even want us to be celebrated, but the police and the government security agencies took the glory. But at the end of the day, we are happy that at least the operation was successful and the perpetrator, if not all of them, at least one or two of them was apprehended. We handed them over to the police. Now imagine if government invested heavily to, build more infrastructure that the security agencies can leverage on. We are from the private sector. Most of the time, we try to do a lot of things to satisfy our clients. And when we do that, when things happen, that is what we will leverage on to, see how it's being perpetrated and all of that. But in Nigerian situation, it's a different thing. So that is another area that our government needs to work on. And as an individual, we also need to be conscious of our environment, pay attention to every details, and if there's any way we can complement what government has put in place, or if there's any way we can do something to make sure that at least ourselves, our family, it will help us to at least safeguard them. So I think it is high time we do that now, so that we don't leave everything to government alone. The next slide shows highlighted the problems of security in Nigeria. As we have discussed, the problems are quite enormous. And one of the things that is causing serious problem now is unemployment. There is a high level of unemployment in Nigeria, especially among the youth, which of course you will all agree with me. Sometimes they said, youth, we are lazy, but I want to disagree that not all youths are lazy. If most of all, because you see so many Nigerians travel abroad, so many jobs they cannot pick up here in Nigeria, they go and do it abroad. Why? Because they'll get more money. And when they get money, they convert it to Naira, they get more money, they get more value for what they have done. I remember those days if you travel abroad, security job is one of the jobs you pick up and you'll be able to pay your bills, you'll be able to get something across to your people at home and all of that. But here in Nigeria, even if you're a government security agency, what you'll be getting at the end of the month, your take-home pay, can that money take you home? I will leave the answer for you and I to answer. So unemployment is one of the key problems that's causing insecurity in Nigeria. If people are not well employed, if those even that are employed don't have good salary to take home at the end of the month, if government is owing them, then at the end of the day, we can have a stable, a relatively stable or predictable environment. Then ethnicity too is another factor. Nigeria, we all know that we have different ethnic groups in Nigeria, and our leaders, they really use that to divide us. And except if you want to deceive ourselves, in most places that you need to have some professionals based on qualification. Then when the ethnics comes in, it becomes a different ballgame. So if you look at this, in one way or the other, it's causing a lot of trouble, a lot of problem for us, and it also results into insecurity. Then poor control of our borders. That has been a problem for a very long time, but we did not pay attention to it. But as it is right now, it is a serious problem, and the government needs to look into it seriously. Nigeria has so many border towns that not all of them are well covered, not all of them are well protected. And on a daily basis, if anybody is coming to Nigeria with arms and ammunition, if they are coming to smuggle anything and all that, they know what they are going to do. They will pass through the main borders. They would rather go through the borders that are not well manned, or better that even if it's well manned, they can talk to people there. And when they compromise, anything comes in. And all these things is something that we need to pay attention to as a government, even as an individual. If we cannot go and be doing a lot of this by ourselves, we can put a team together to advocate that our government, to keep bringing it to the ears of our government. Because if Nigeria is not safe, if our border is not well controlled, Nigeria won't be a safe place for us. And one day it will get to us as well. About 3 weeks ago, I was going to Abeokuta. I passed through the express road, and all of a sudden we're just hearing the gunshots. I thought they are robbers. I told my driver to pull over for a while, that if they are robbers, it won't last more than 3, 4, 5 minutes maximum. And this thing continues for about 20 minutes. And immediately I told them, I said, these are not robbers. Something else is happening. And eventually we ran into one village, only to hear from that place that the customs and the smugglers, they are the one fighting each other in a civilized country. It was so bad that they kept all of us away from the road for almost 3 hours. And some of us have to navigate ourselves through the bush and all that before we could get to where we're going. If a lot of people have to turn back from that place back to where they're coming from. So a lot of things needed to be done, at our borders. This will really help. Terrorism, like I said previously, in the past, even in 20 years ago, or let's say 30 years ago, if they tell us that Nigeria will be facing serious issue when it comes to terrorism, I'm sure we'll say no. But now it's the order of the day. Only God knows how many Nigerians that is being recruited on a daily basis to all these groups. And that is why I discuss with people that we need to take care of our family and make sure that we guide our children, especially those in our institution, to make sure that we control what and what they do on internet. Because most of these groups, they do their recruitment via internet, and there's some links that they'll just send and all of that. Before you know what's going on, they brainwash them and they're in for it. So, and this terrorism is the main cause of insecurity in the country. And it has become a serious business now, internationally. And one sad thing about it is that if we think, or we thought that terrorism will disappear tomorrow, we're just deceiving ourselves. Terrorism is something that will not disappear. We all have to live around it. We all have to look at the best way for us, and know what we're doing, where to go, where not to go, and all of that. I remember when the president was contesting for election, most people voted for him because they believe that he's a retired military personnel and he'll be able to deal with the terrorist activities and all of that. Well, he might have the technical know-how, he might have the experience and all of that. But if you look at the dynamics, the way, the level at which people have taken terrorism to now, it is extremely difficult, even for the United States, to wipe away terrorist acts on a daily basis. A lot of activities is being forwarded on a daily basis that they don't even announce to us. I was discussing with a colleague of mine from the other field recently. And I told him that if you are privileged to have the crime statistics in Nigeria, especially in the city where you reside, I said you will not want to go to a nearby pub or a club or an open place to go and, say you want to go and relax and have a drink and all of that. I said you rather want to stay in your house or within your premises, invite your friends and to be having all of that. But government will not put all of that in the news because they don't want to scare everybody, but they want people to, So the next slide, talk about about the government intervention. All of us know that the government approach sometimes doesn't look, it's not really what we want. Something will happen to take decision, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of politics, a lot of sentiments, and all this affects the situation. Take, for example, the time of EndSARS. It took government a lot of time to respond to people's agitation, and that caused a lot of damage. And it caused a lot of, and exposed a lot of things that even up to today, we are still not catching up with it. That exposed the security forces, it exposed their limitation, it exposed a lot of things about them, that even they themselves up to now, they have not gotten back themselves, 100%. The lack of faith in security agencies. How many Nigerians today now have confidence in all the security agencies? Government security being police, being military. Previously, we have so much confidence in military. But now, do we even have confidence in them anymore? But the unfortunate thing is that whether we have confidence in them, whether we have faith in them, if anything happens now, they are still the one we will run into. For instance, now, if we conduct an opinion poll, that how many people like police? If we pick 10 people, maybe only 2 will say they like police. 8 might say they don't like police. If something happens to those 8 people now, the first person they will call is police. So that is why we don't need to ignore. We need to look at what we can do as an individual, as a citizen, to make sure that things are done properly. We have police that are not well equipped. We have police that they are not, in terms of training, they might be doing well. But if they are not well equipped, if there are no infrastructures for them to leverage on, there is no way they can perform optimally. And those are the areas. And anytime they have a huge budget for the service chiefs to import equipment, to do this, to do that for them, those money ends up somewhere else. And that is a serious problem, for the security agency. Even the private security sector, what is the public perception on the private security guys? It cut across everybody because everybody is human, and in a way, everybody is trying to survive, and every opportunity that can make their life better, in most cases, some of them compromise. So that is why in every situation, we have police guiding us. Don't let us leave everything to them. Let us get involved. Let us play our whole role. Let us ask questions. Let us have a self-knowledge of our environment. Let us make sure that we just don't ignore things that affect us, and let us speak out. If you look at the next slide, the corruption is very common now. Corrupt government officials. Corruption is very common now. I remember some times ago, they passed some bills on security and all of that, cut across the police and other paramilitary. But when it comes to execution, who follows up? When they have funds to make things work, who follows up? Nobody. Then it will be so amazed that even the lawmakers that are supposed to do all this thing, representing all of us from different states, different constituency and all of that, by the time they give them their own share of the stuff, the rest become the story. So stealing public funds has become the norm, and there is no way it won't affect us, because when you look at health sector, security sector, that in the health sector, if anything happens, life is just one. If life is gone, then you can't replace it back, and you can't get it back. And the same thing with security. Just one bullet can kill, and afterwards, life is gone. So those are the things that we don't need to play with. We need to make sure that things are done properly. Poverty. The rate of poverty in Nigeria is quite alarming. I'm sure everybody will agree with me. And the result also, like I said, is a criminal behavior. You see all these petty crimes, people will have different gangs, just to go and oppress people to keep ends meet, so many social violence and all of that. And all this contributes to the problem of security in the country. Because there is no way when you see a lot of youths that are not well taken care of, they wake up in the morning, they don't know where they're going to get the breakfast or lunch or dinner, and they are hungry. They tend to do whatever they want to do. That's when you see people at the bus stops, you see people in the traffic, they attack. Some doesn't care what happens to them. They just want to survive for that day. So this poses a lot of threat on the country, and it affects the security as it is. Well, the problem of security in Nigeria, like I said, is quite enormous. Some of it is imbalance in development, also loss of socio-cultural and the communal value system. And this has really caused us a lot of issues, if you agree with me. I have a picture. I just put that picture in between. And because most of the time, we like to show, we like to give our country a kind of bad image. Obviously, if you're looking at this picture, it's a picture of a police patrol van, anti-robbery squad. If anything happens, then I know that this vehicle cannot do anything. Then let me now call your attention to a scene behind this picture. The scene behind this picture shows a truck that fell, and we have some Nigerians there scooping. Well, I wouldn't know 100% if that truck is carrying fuel, maybe diesel or PMS, or maybe what we have in there is vegetable oil. But if you look at the back of the tanker, I'm sure it is possible. It may not be carrying anything that is close to PMS or diesel, because there's a way they indicate at the back, maybe with blue or yellow, to indicate if they are carrying diesel or they are carrying PMS. So let us assume that they are scooping vegetable oil. Somebody is going to run into a serious crisis here. And those people scooping, they are not scooping to keep for that person. They are scooping to survive. Some will scoop that vegetable oil to go and sell, to keep ends meet. Some will scoop it to go and use it in their house. And if somebody's misfortunes translate to somebody's blessing, this is the kind of situation we found ourselves. And this is the kind of environment where we found ourselves. The next picture. I've shown you a patrol van that looks like we are in the jungle. We are not human. Then the next picture shows that despite the situation, some people somewhere are thinking right and thinking well. I know that recently on social media, I saw so many pictures. They put UAE police, they put French police, British police, American police, and they now said Nigerian police with a very bad representation. In that picture that I saw, nobody put this kind of vehicle as operational patrol vehicle from Nigerian police. Well, we may not get it right 100%, but sometimes too, government are trying to do what they're supposed to do. But the problem we are having is more of individual. Some of these vehicles may not be used for what it's meant for. Some of this vehicle may be converted for leisure, for some service trips and all of that. But government need to invest in modern day monitoring and surveillance equipment with monitoring center. And this will enhance the timely relay of information and rapid response. I was privileged to be in a training in the UK maybe about 5 years ago. And I was in a team of some Chinese people. So we're taken somewhere, and what we saw there was so amazing, like a monitoring center or for some province or so in UK. And a lot of things they displayed to us when you look at the way it works and all of that. And the next thing I told myself that it's only a madman that will want to perpetrate any evil acts in this place. But having said that, we still have a lot of people that does that and they still get away with it. I asked a lot of questions, and I made to realize that if you do some certain things, it's not that they don't see, and it's not that it's not documented. But when you have a lot of things to deal with, you put that aside, okay, let me still leave this, and let me deal with the one that, is really, really bad, But they have tried in a way to make sure that they put system in place, they put gadgets, they invest heavily in all of that to make sure that their environment is well secured. But they too knows that if they don't have all those things in place, individuals will want to exhibit their criminality, their criminal behavior, and that will not make the environment a safe place. The next picture, you see how Nigerian police improvise. We call this, I'm sure everybody knows this as Keke Napep or Keke Marua, And well, I put this question because we had one discussion on this picture. That discussion lasted for about 3 hours. And a lot of critics, we read from both a lot of perspective and all of that. And I said that, well, if I have this to patrol, is it not better that I don't have anything at all? And somebody said, if you have this for patrol, it's good as you don't have anything. Well, if you look at different thoughts, different discussion, well, every one of us may have, we may not be wrong and we may not be right. But this to show you how, I'm sure somebody must have donated this. This will not come from government budget for logistics and all of that. It could be community donated. It could even be an exhibit. Line follow at the police station, and somebody said, please, let's convert it to police patrol, maybe for marketplace or maybe for neighborhood and all of that. It will serve a purpose. So I just put it there, just to share more light on what we discussed a couple of months back. Well, we've talked about the problems we have. We've talked about some of the things that is causing a lot of insecurity in Nigeria. We've talked about how it was in the northwest, northeast, Niger Delta area and all of that. Then what are the possible solutions to problems of security in Nigeria? And when we're looking at the possible solution, let us take into consideration our population. That is why I try to showcase this. I put first good leadership and good governance. If we have good leadership and we have good governance, despite our population, I'm sure Nigeria will have a relatively predictable environment, which an individual can go and pursue its ends without disruption, without harm, without fear of disturbance or injury. I know some places now that in the past few years, nothing will make me to go there. Why? Because of the peculiarity of those areas. For instance, if I go to Lagos, I know some areas that I won't try to go there at some time or some instances. Why? Because of some expected behavior in that area. If I'm in Ibadan, for instance, I know some areas that you don't even go there at all. Because when you go there, the way they even see you dressed, or the vehicle you drive, that can make you a potential target. And those are the things that we need to be conscious of. So, but unfortunately, we have leaders that they make use of those miscreants. Election is coming now. They will pamper them. They will do all sorts of things for them. So when things are done this way and these are not done properly, there is no way we can get it right. So we need a good leader that will deal with every situation the way it's supposed to be dealt with. And this will help the country. This will increase the welfare, the well-being of every citizen of the country. Also, socio-economic development. If you agree with me, there's a great need to accelerate the pace of development in Nigeria. Because, for instance, now, our economy is, if it's not, sometimes when people say that Nigerians praise a lot, and is it only Nigeria that God will listen to? Well, I can say that, well, in a way, God is helping us. Because most of the things, for instance, look at what is happening in African countries now. Ethiopia, Togo, and the likes, a lot of issues coming up, But worst things will happen in Nigeria, and it will not even result to that extent. So, in a way, if they say that God is behind our country, is doing this, is doing that, well, they might have a good point there. But the bottom line is that government need to create, an economy, that they need to create an economy, and they need to provide infrastructures. They need to do a lot of things that will make life better, things that will not make people. I remember those days when I was living somewhere around in Lupeju. We have a basketball court in an open place. Nobody owns it. The government. Everybody in the evening, people will go there. A lot of talents were discovered there. I do not know, maybe such still exists now. I know a lot of people in those days, they will pick them in different places, playing football and all of that. There are public places that you can go, enjoy yourself and do a lot of recreational stuff and all of that. I remember those times, those periods that even in Ibadan, I grew up in Ibadan, we have public library that we pay a token. And in fact, the zeal that, oh, my friend goes to the library, I want to go to the library. You register, you do all of that. But I'm not too sure if all those things still existing now. If you talk of medical care, how many people have access to, basic medical facility? Very few. Roads are bad, electricity is not there. Basic amenities, nobody is enjoying anything. Then what are we talking about? So when the government gets all these things right, it's going to help to reduce the insecurity. The next slide, better equipped security agency. I can't, for instance, now when you look at Nigerian police, for instance, because I'll talk about that because they are the closest to, to the people, they're close to the grassroots. We talk about Nigerian police, we talk about civil defense, they are more closer to the grassroots. How better are they equipped? An average policeman, how vast is it with computer? An average policeman, how vast is it with ICT? Even most of the equipment they are using, how many of them can use it? How many of them can use it? So a lot of issues. Government supposed to take this very seriously, invest seriously in equipment and gadgets, training and manpower development for security agencies. If they do that, it goes a long way to help the situation. Otherwise, a lot of things will not be done properly. If they don't do that, even the criminal are better equipped and they know how to cover all their tracks and cover all their flaws so that they will not get caught. The corruption is another serious factor, like we said, and one of the problems. If there's a way our government can eliminate corruption, it will go a long way. Recently, I was at the Capital Club in Lagos, and one of the past governor of a state, let me not mention the name, was there on the roundtable discussion. And when he was sharing his experience, you really feel for him, and that will bring individual to a conclusion, or let me say individual like myself to a conclusion that to be a public servant, you must really, really prepare for it. To ask yourself whether you really want to go for this or not. This man came in as a governor of a state, and he's a successful business person. And he sees the way the resources of the state is being used, and he kicked against it. He tried to eliminate corruption. He tried to block all the loopholes. And guess what? In another 4, 5, 6 months, he now was impeached. Because why? Because he was blocking all the loopholes, because he was trying to eliminate corruption. But he was so lucky because he's a rich man. He tried, he struggled, and he took the case to the court. Eventually, he won the case and he was reinstated. And he tried to set things right. But when he left the office, whosoever comes in, is he going to continue from where he stopped, or is he going to share his views and all of that? So a lot of problem as well with this corruption. And that is why you see sometimes that the money that is meant to equip police, one of the service chief diverted the money into his personal account and all of that. So if we didn't eliminate all this, if we still engage in all this, there is no way we will get it right when it comes to security of life and property. The next slide highlighted involvement of all stakeholders. This area concerns you and I. Ensuring a safe environment is the responsibility of everybody. The government, the security agencies, the civil society, religious heads, community heads, and individual. Companies also have to carry out their corporate social responsibilities. Previously, let me start from the private security services. Most of the time, in our offices, in our homes, when we engage a private security company and they deploy guards to us, because we have paid, some of us will pay annually, some quarterly, some half year, or some monthly. But because we have paid, we expected that nothing concerns us anymore when it comes to security. But we are getting it very wrong. No matter what you pay, if you are not involved, if you are not playing your own role, you can't get it right. I don't want to mention names. We've had it in this country. A minister, of course, the government is paying the security details, but because they didn't pay too much attention to details, because they just left everything to security. I'm not a security person. I've paid them. They've deployed them. Government is paying them. Then nothing concerns me. Eventually, that man lost his life. So no matter what the situation, being our own private security, being our own internal security, being government security agencies, we have a role to play. We must get involved. If you are in an organization that have security, maybe different layers of security, you must ask questions. Gone are the days that you just leave your security, maybe you are expected to see 2 or 3, you see only 1, and you just ignore. No, you ask questions. When they know that you are involved, when they know that you ask questions, then they will do the right thing. Also, government security agency, most of the time, we just assume that they will do it right, or that's the way they will do it, they will not do it right. Either they are doing it right or they are not doing it right. We need to ask questions. Even if our voice is not heard today, we still need to ask questions. By the time we ask questions today, we ask questions tomorrow, they will definitely know that these people are not just knowing, they know what they are doing, and they are doing things right. Recently, I was driving one of my car, and the policeman stopped me. I stopped. He asked me to roll down my glass. I did. And he checked everything he needed to check, nothing that I can't give it to him. And he said, "Do you have a tinted permit for a car?" I said, "Yes." And I did not even stop at that. I want him to know that I know. I said, "Yes." But I said yes to him. And I said, "But I have a tinted permit, despite the fact that they have stopped it for now." For him to know that you cannot just come and, because by the time you give to him, you can say, "Okay, where did you get this one from?" Is it from Abuja? Is it from Lagos? Is it from this? Is it from that? But when it comes to security, let us equip ourselves with information. As a matter of fact, somebody said the currency of this century now is information. And that is very, very important when it comes to security. Let us equip ourselves with information. Even with our kids at home, let us equip them with security information. When you see this, when you see that, let us train them. When you see, like I was with my a family in UK some years back, and one of the kids in school was telling me that, uncle, in our school, they teach us that when you see a stranger that is trying to be fun around you, just shout, stranger danger. So if anybody had stranger danger, they know that, no, this is a stranger and it's not friendly to me. They have to, do something very fast. But how many of our children here, how many of our kids here have that kind of orientation? An average person, an average school children abroad can describe you. You have oblong face, you have straight face, you have black hair, you have brown hair. They know how to describe all those features. How many of our kids, how many of our children, they can do that? Even adults. When you ask some adults to describe a suspect, to describe what they see, how many people can do that? There's some key features that when we mention it, it gives the investigator a little bit on what I want to do. But here, we don't have that orientation. We need to bring that back, to our society. We need to bring that back to our individual homes to give us, to equip our family with information regarding the security situation of the country. Legislative and judicial intervention. If you look at Nigeria today, a lot of things are just wrong. I have so many friends as a lawyer, and there was a day I told one of them, I said, you people are one of the problems of this country. And I said, don't take it personal, that not even this country. I said, you people are one of some of the problems of the world. And later, he tried to convince me and say, look, if you say we have problems, fine, but we can't be problem outside this and this and this and that. I said, okay, explain to me. Then they put me through the law, put me through all those stuff and all of that. And now see that there's a lot of vacuum. There's a lot of lacuna in our criminal justice system. And if we don't have the criminal justice system right in this country, there is no way we can have a relatively predictable environment that every individual or group of people can pursue their ends without being, without having a fear of disturbance and all of that. So a lot needs to be done. Policies that tackle the different issues have been confronting our, the bigger problem. We need to look into it. What is the Constitution saying about it? What are the policies saying about it? Like I was telling some people, like this present situation now, it is encouraging that every individual is harmed. And he said, hey, how will you say, yes, it is important we are harmed. Because if you're coming to attack me and I have harms, in the way that will give me kind of confidence, it's 50-50. But if you're coming to me, you are with harms, and I don't have harms. You've defeated me 50%. Only thing that can save me is maybe the information that I've equipped myself with. If I can quickly put one or two things in place and it works for me. But one-on-one, if you are harmed and I'm not harmed, of course you have won the battle like halfway. So, but a lot of policy will say that you cannot have harms or make it so difficult for you to bear harms. Or even when you have, a lot of policy will say, come and drop your hand and ammunition. If you don't do that and they caught you, you're going to be in problem. Meanwhile, when you drop such arms, what happens to it? Is there a record of your arms anywhere anymore? Those arms will be transferred to some people, either legally or illegally. And what happens after it, nobody knows. So a lot of things are to be done with our legislative and judicial intervention. Also with policy that government is making. That will go a long way to help us, to get better security-wise. Then, like I said earlier, with the influx of people coming into Nigeria on a daily basis, through the sea, through the border, and through the air, we need to strengthen our borders. This will prevent smuggling of arms into the country and curb the influx of migrants. And not the borders is not land borders only. Things comes through a lot of, for instance, I was working on a job. I was working on a job in one of the terminals in Apapa. And one of the major threats they are facing there, happens to come through the waterways. I did the survey, we did everything possible. And that has still not, highlighted their problems or addressed their problem. Myself and my team, we now said, okay, let us see what happens on the waterways in the night. So we hired a boat, and in the night, when everywhere is dark, we now have to patrol with armed personnel on the waterways. And what we saw on the waterways in the night will amaze you. Is something that you will never thought of. The activities on that waterways in the night is like triple the activities during the day. And if you look at 80% of such activities, they are criminal activities. So when I look at the situation, I just shook my head and I said, well, we are in a serious mess in this country, and only God and ourselves will help ourselves. So if government strengthens all the controls in all our border, at least that will stop the smuggling of unwanted items like arms, fake drugs, drugs that will, influence youth to engage in criminal behaviors and all of that. So that will go a long way to curb the insecurity in the country. Then, like I said, that governments have their roles. Government at every level, federal government, the government at the center, they have their roles and responsibility. Also, the state government, they have their roles and their responsibility. The local governments, they have their own. And even we ourselves, within our community, we have our roles, we have a role to play. Community has been viewed largely as providing quick reaction to any attacks that occur, despite the best efforts of the state or local government to prevent it. Hence, there is need to embrace multi-level security system, and more importantly, community policing. What do I mean by multi-level security system? For instance, I'm sure most of us in our neighborhood, because most of us, we are, maybe an average Nigeria or more than average and all of that. Maybe in our estate, we likely have private security guards guarding your estate. Then, because of some perceived threats, maybe you know that those ones does not have hands. Then you may likely now arrange with the police, maybe with the mobile police force, to have maybe about 4, 5, 6 men attached to them as a backup. I've seen instances where an estate or a community like that have private security guards, have mobile police, and also have a military presence, just to make sure that that area is a safe place. But what happens if you go out of that your estate? What happens on the road? What happens in the markets? What happens in the church? You want to go and fellowship there. What happens at the mosque? Most of us that attend social events, what happens at that social event? Is it the same level of security you have in your house, in your homes, that you have in there? Most of the time, the answer is no. So that means that it doesn't stop there. If you provide that kind of security for your estate, for your resident, you don't stay in that your estate and your resident 24/7. There will be need for you to go out as a group of people, as a family, as an individual, to pursue your ends, and you don't want anything that will disrupt it. You don't want anything that will create fear or disturbance. So that is why we should take a step for more than what we are doing. If you safeguard your house, safeguard your community, I mean your immediate environment only, or that is the only area you are adding value to, then what happens to you when you go to those areas or some other places? So we need to pay attention to details. Now, like I said earlier, we felt that I've paid my tax, I've paid the company providing security for me. After all, government have a responsibility to cater for me, to make sure that I'm safe, I'm secured, and all of that. But the current reality now, next slide, please. The current reality now is that security is everybody's business. Whether you pay for it, whether you don't pay for it, security is now everybody's business. Like I said previously, our general belief is that security of life and property is for government law enforcement officers only. Probably that might be when the population of Nigeria is not even up to 50 million. Then you have enough police that covers around. Now, how many police do we have to like 100 people, to like 50 people? If you look at the population of police now, it's not adequate. So if you leave the whole job for them, there is no way we can have a secure environment. So now the current reality is that the security is everybody's business. In any way, we must play our own quota, we must play our own role. I was somewhere sometimes ago, and I look around, you hardly see policemen around. But just commit just single traffic offense, you will be apprehended. You will be apprehended. So a lot of things that we need to do as an individual. One of my professors to share an experience with me that he traveled abroad, and on the street, he had issues with his luggage. So he was trying to check his bag, check whatever, he was strolling the bag, and he was struggling with it for maybe about 15 minutes. Before you know what's going on, about 3 teams of policemen catch up with him. But he was not scared because he doesn't have any malicious intention or whatever. But eventually, what amazes us was that one of the neighbors in that neighborhood actually called police. And the person was looking at him. He did not say the person. But how many of such do we do in Nigeria? Sometimes something is happening to our next door neighbor, we don't care. Something is happening within their environment, we don't care. I tell people that most of the kidnappers that we have around now, they are not working in isolation. So many of us provide food for them. So many of us are in charge of their logistics. So many of us are in charge of their feeding, in charge of their information, in charge of their movement and all of that. We don't see it as if we are doing bad. We see it as if we are doing business. So a lot of issues that when you look at it, we need to change our attitude. Because if something happens to my neighbor today, because it does not affect me, and I did not show concern, I did not care, another day, if it comes to my side, the same thing I did for my neighbor is going to do for me. And that will not help the situation. So the truth about it is that we all need to get involved and play our own role effectively as a citizen of the country. As it is now, government might not be doing enough for us, but we need to play our own roles effectively. If there's anything we need to report, we need to report. If there's anything we need to talk about, we need to talk about it. If there's any awareness we need to make, we need to do it. If we should come together and form a voice to deal with some situation we need to do. I've known so many communities that they have come together, they have a representation, and they make a proposal to government that now government is working on some of them. A lot of things that we can do collectively, individually, that can add value to also that can make our environment to be a better place, we need to do it. Also, part of our collective responsibility as a citizen, for effective management of crime and criminal behavior is a community approach. A community approach should be adopted by all and sundry. For instance, every neighborhood, and this, if you look at this, it's not as if, when we talk about community policing now, it's not as if we are just talking about it, or it's not as if it's a new thing. Community policing has been existing as far as I know, as far as I was born, even before I was born. That is when, and those are the things that we grew up to see. You see a community that everybody knows themselves. If somebody move out of that community today, they knows Mr. Alaba is out of this community. Then whosoever comes into that community, maybe in about a month or 2 months after, everybody is so curious to know. They will even go and greet them. They will even go and exchange pleasantries and all of that. Are we doing the same thing right now? The answer is no. I remembered when I was living in Lagos, my next door neighbor, I may not see him for months. I don't care if he's okay. He doesn't care if I'm okay as well. That's a lot of issues. Sometimes, maybe it could be the nature of our job, it could be our time schedule, it could be anything. But these are the things that gradually affecting us as an individual, gradually affecting us as a citizen of this country. And this cannot happen elsewhere. Elsewhere, if they don't care about their neighbors, they monitor. And government have a lot of things in place that monitor, that guide, and whatever you do to a reasonable extent. It's not as if they are interfering into your privacy, but they have a lot of things that put checks and balances on individual. So we all need, the bottom line is that we all need to get involved to curb the menace of the rising crime rates in our society. We need to be more alert, we need to be more vigilant, and we need to be more involved. Community policing, like I said, community policing is a strong partnership, collaborative effort of police and members of the public with a view to protect lives and property at the neighborhood level. Unfortunately, the police PCRC is something that if it's well done, it should go a long way to help. But most of the people now, they use it, to like have leverage. You even see some criminals becoming members of PCRC because they want to do something and get away with it. Some people join PCRC so that they can know the DPO, they can know the Commissioner of Police, they can know the AIG, DIG, and then when they commit an offense, they commit any evil, they can use man or man to get out of it. And that shouldn't be. If we have a PCRC that is well established, well strengthened, it should help in community policing. People will know themselves. They can say, oh, something happened in this neighborhood. This man it has not been happening before, but there's a man that came in like 2 months ago. People will volunteer information. Individuals need to provide assistance to state security agencies on information gathering. Because if anything happens, police, military, DSS, they don't have witchcraft. They don't have witchcraft. If you don't give them information, they don't have anything to work with. Something happens to me in my house, I can't expect the Commissioner of Police in his office to know. I will be the one to volunteer that information, that something happened in my neighborhood. I saw somebody doing this, doing that, and I need to, to cry out. If we don't do that, then we don't expect magic most times. Then I've discussed with many people many times, and they will say that, well, if we volunteer information, then at the end of the day, we are not protected. Well, I can say you may be right, and sometimes it happens that way. But there are better ways to do it. When you want to volunteer information and all of that. Though sometimes Nigeria it could be so bad that we will be exposed, afterward. But most time, what I tell people is that when you have a good information, to volunteer to a security agency. Request, no matter your level, request to see the head of that agency in your state. Request to see the head of that. If you want to see the commissioner of police now, he will see you. But most of us, we already have a biasment that, number one, we don't have time. Number two, we believe that they will not see us. Number three, we believe that a lot of bureaucracy and all of that. But a step we are taking to see them, to volunteer information, to discuss some issues with them, that step might save a lot of lives and ourselves and our family. So that is why we need to, most especially, we that we are a little bit exposed and all of that, let us try to learn more about what and what we can do, the best we can do it. If I have information now about drugs and all of that, I won't just call one rank and file and tell. I won't just go to one nearest station and tell. I will request to see whosoever is the head of probably NDLA in that province or in that state. And I will make sure I discuss with. At that level, I should have a kind of confidence in that person. At that level, that person too must exhibit the kind of responsibility, so that he will protect me and make sure that whatever I discuss with him, they don't just expose me to, attack and make me a target. So as a citizen, we have our important role to play in the security architecture of the state to prevent crime and criminality and to make our immediate environment safe and secured. Our people that care about each other, like we always say that people that care about each other and their country generally will not resort to destruction of lives and property, no matter their grievances. But we are seeing a lot of things on the contrary now. People just do things anyhow. Couple of weeks back, we saw what happened on the railway between Kaduna and Abuja. And not to even go too far, you see a lot of things that happen now within the town. You see the people that they don't have money to eat, they want to survive, they will go and remove the iron stuff on the road. Of course, they are going to sell it to keep ends meet. But that action may lead to somebody's death. Somebody driving in the night doesn't know that they have removed some, irons on the road for him to pass, and they end up having an accident. And that causes a lot of issues. So what are we contributing on our own side? What are we doing? When we see some things that is not right, are we reporting? Are we taking action? Do we just leave it that way and say, okay, no matter what happens, so far I'm not a target, I don't care. We need to change that attitude. We need to take responsibilities. And every responsibility comes with a price. And in most cases, the price might be our time. The time you spend to see that DPO, the time you spend to see that commissioner of police, that might be a lot, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. So as I stated, security is the responsibility of every citizen, though the bulk of the work rests in the hands of the government, because they have the control over the resources of the nation. They are the one that can budget for this, they are the one that can deploy all of that. If I provide security in my house, if I provide cameras in my house, in my office, can I do the same on the road? Can I do the same on government facilities and properties? The answer is no. So that is why I said that a lot is still in the hands of the government, because they are the one that is in control of the resources of the nation. Basically, if the societal welfare of people improves, like we discussed earlier, a lot of security problems will disappear. If I know that as a young person, if I want to work and I have what it takes, I have the qualification, I will get a job, I'll do my job, then I don't have issues. But in a situation whereby I'm a citizen of the country, I have all the qualification, but the job is not there for me. The next thing for me to think now is to think about how I can keep ends meet. And I will go to any length to survive. I will try all sorts of vice and all of that to survive. And in most cases, that ends in criminal behavior. So like I always tell people that, well, we have a responsibility. And I will equally advise, though this is not part of the presentation, but let me just quickly say this, that we are in the embark period now. As a security person, I don't see the difference between ember period and January or mid-year or whatever, because every time we have criminal activities. But because ember period, people see that, oh, a lot of people want to travel, a lot of people want to do Christmas, do New Year and all of that, that increases. This period, let us try and watch what we do. Let us try and pay more attention to our immediate environment. Let us try and be well guided on a lot of things, especially social functions these days. Lately, when we look at the crime statistics, a lot of people go to social functions and all of that, and the people spot them there, and it becomes a target. And most people don't survive it in the process. So when we are going to social functions, let us be well guided. Let us be moderate in whatever we are doing. And I must say that this is not the era that we need to loud ourselves or be too loud and all of that. Let us be moderate. And when we are having a conversation, especially on phone, in a public place, in our office, even in our vehicle, for some of us that have driver, let us try as much as possible to code what we are discussing, because most of the problem we are facing now is a threat of an insider. And when you are looking at the threat of insider, it is very broad. You don't know who and who, because when something happens, most of the time we say, oh, it's an insider's threat. How do you now define that insider? In your office, the guy that supplies your newspaper, it becomes an insider. A guy that comes to fix your laptop or your computer or your printer in the office, it becomes an insider. Your driver becomes an insider. Even the person you buy something from and you went and just talk anyhow becomes an insider. So we need to be well guided, be very, very conscious and vigilant. If we put all these things on our daily activities and we take note of that, it will go a long way to help us. I know our time is fast spent. Let me conclude by saying that the safety and security of Nigerian citizens is our collective responsibility. When we join hands with the government agencies, when we voice out, when we volunteer information, and whenever we take, adequate precautions, I'm sure that to a reasonable extent, we will put ourselves in a safe mode that will not be exposed as a target, to people that they want to, harm us. Once again, I want to thank all the listeners, and I want to thank the organizers of Alumni Talks of AIESEC Nigeria for this wonderful opportunity. And I hope and I believe that I've been able to, give us some additional information to what we know before. Thank you for this privilege. I appreciate you. If there's any question, I would like to take it.
Wow, I must say I've learned a lot too. I mean, prior to now, I didn't think reporting was part of my duties. And we evolved into saying it's none of my business. But now you have let us see that reporting is also part of our responsibilities, part of gathering intelligence, as long as we don't put ourselves in harm's way. Thank you very much, Sheyi. That was very well articulated. And you looked at it from all the other stakeholder angles. Because when a layman like or me would say, I'd always put everything at the buck stops with the government, right? But with what you said, I got some very, very useful nuggets about being our brother's keeper, about being moderate, about reporting and community policing. So I don't know if we have any questions now. Our time is actually fast spent, but I believe it was a time well spent looking at security from so many angles. I personally have a question concerning the issue of applying for arms. Not that I'm going to do that. I don't have that capacity at the moment. But is it something that should be legislated? Is that part of our future? in Nigeria, you know, people arming themselves, getting arms legitimately from the government. What is your take on that?
Thank you very much. You see, before now, people have been having arms. You know, there's a particular arms that, as a civilian, can be licensed, you know, for you to use. Though most times people abuse it, because if they issued arms for you and they give you license to use it, your license does not cover another person. That license covers you. So you are the only one that can use it for anything. And also your license does not cover you taking the arms out of your house. So you must use it because of the passive threat. You have you perceive in your where you reside and all of that. But these days, people abuse that. Some will apply for arms, maybe like 1, 2, or 3 arms. They will license it because of their influence and all of that, and they'll give it to their guards, give it to their friends, you know, and they can also misuse it. But as an individual, as a citizen, you have right, if you perceive any threat, you have right to approach even the Inspector General of Police that you needed armed protection. They can now tell you, okay, they can deploy armed personnel to you. And if they don't do that, if you requested to bear arms, you have a right. And they can also say, okay, let us check your background. What they will do is that they will check your background. There's a form they will give you to fill. That form will check your background, check everything you have done if you are qualified. You know, but today now, how many people do they do the due diligence on their background to issue arms to them? But if you are a genuine person, you are an honest person, and you felt that you need it for your protection, you have right to apply for it. And you have right to, you know, we have so many agents that sells arms. They have license to sell arms. You can get from them, you can get from the police themselves, and they will issue license. When your hand is licensed, then you are covered. It's only if your license is not genuine, that is when you have problem. And when you have, and they can go for training, they will train you how to use it, how to fire it, and all of that. So it's something that if you want it, you need it, you're up to it, then it's no problem for you to get it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that clarity, because it's not something that we come across every day. It's not even something that we talk about. Thank you. I think we're going to call it a day now. Sheyi has taken the time to elaborate to us our responsibility, the responsibility of the government, the possibility of community policing, intelligence gathering, and us being vigilant about our environment, asking questions. And for him, there's no difference between the Ember month and the remaining parts of the year, unlike what the general public does perceive. Sheyi also runs a security outfit, PG security outfit, and his details are going to be made available to us on our platforms, so that if we want to ask him further questions or consult with him on security matters. He's also an alumni, and you know, we as alumni, we're the embodiment of the 5 values of ISEC. So I believe it's an opportunity for us to do business in-house. Before we call it a day, I'd like to thank Idris Yakubu and everybody who has taken the time. Idris Yakubu is our past president, and he has been here from the beginning up until now. Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate your presence. Would you like to say 1 or 2 things before we go, sir? Okay. All right, let's just move ahead. So with that, we call it a day. Thank you very much, Sheyi. And the slides will be shared on our platforms. The slides will be shared on our platforms. And let us keep safe. Let us remember it is our collective responsibility. However, there is still light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully, prayerfully, and with all our assistance, will make Nigeria a safer place for both citizenry and everyone, every one of us. Sheyi, any last words before we go?
Well, I will just want to appreciate, I appreciate you and every other members present here today. And I hope to be part of the subsequent programs in the future. And it will be my pleasure anytime, any day. And also let us remember that, like I said, that security is our business. It's everybody's business. Let's pay attention, equip ourselves with information, security information precisely. That will really go a long way to help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheyi. And with that, I'd like to say, hey, Isaac, say what? We have come to the end of Alumni Talks today. It's streaming live on Facebook. And guys, let us remember, nominate somebody, call in somebody, send the email to us at info@isaac.alumninigeria.org. It's isaac.alumni.nigeria, isaac.alumni.ng.org.ng. Sorry, I'll put it in the chat room. So please let us hear from you, subject matter experts. We need you in Alumni Talks. Let us help ourselves, educate ourselves, and be our brother's keeper. Thank you very much. Do have a lovely evening. Thank you. You can unmute yourself and say goodbye. Thank you. Just for 2 seconds before we call it a day. Thank you very much. Shenwa, thank you. The evening.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. All right then. Good night. Izan, Tochukwu, Alarakwe, Ajani, thank you for being here. Chinye, Chineye, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely week ahead. And stay safe. Thank you, Tochukwu. All right then. Goodbye.
Bye.